Yo, what's up, guys? Joker bringing you another video for Diablo 4. With the official launch being tomorrow at 4 p.m., I figured I'd go ahead and throw together a video of tips, tricks, stuff I've learned now being in World Tier 3, being level 57, right? And I feel like I have, I don't know, way too many hours in the game right now. So I figured I'd go ahead and throw together a little video to hopefully help you out with things that I didn't know on launch that I really wish that I did. All right, and coming in at number one is going to be world events. While you're exploring through the map, you're going to see either large orange circles, which are going to be pretty much mini quest world events, which have you do like, I don't know, a minute, 2 minutes of combat, and then it gives you a reward chest. Or you'll see a timer pop up on the world map, and that's going to either spawn the Legion invasions or the world boss. Both really, really good sources of EXP, gold, resources, and obols. Now, the reason why you want to do all of these events is just like I've stated, is they give you an abundance of resources. They give you a lot of gold, they give you a lot of jewels, they give you a lot of gear, they give you a lot of obols. In case you don't know what obols are essentially blood shards from D3, where you use them at the vendor and you're essentially RNG gambling for a either upgrade and just a better piece of gear, or more specifically, a specific legendary item power. This is going to help you try to get more legendary powers, especially if you're struggling, because a lot of the builds don't come online fully until you have a legendary set or a set of legendary powers that work well with your character. So if you're skipping past all of these world events, you're not going to gather the obols needed to actually try to roll for the legendary powers that for that build that you want to play. And I've been seeing it quite a lot. I've been seeing people just run past these world events, and it just doesn't make sense because I've gotten so much value. And majority of the time when it's the orange circle, it's 1, 2, 3 minutes. So it's not even like it's an excessive amount of time for the amount of rewards and benefits that you actually get from it. All right, and coming in at number two is probably something that I value more than world events. It's kind of a toss up. They're both really, really good, but is renown. This is going to be essentially everything. It's going to be giving you passive points for everything that you do in the game, whether it's unlocking waypoints, defeating strongholds, side quests, altars of Lilith, side dungeons, just discovering the map. And the reason why the renown system is so good is because I believe it's something like 5 potions, 10 skill points, 200 or 300 max obol, and 20 paragon points. So if that sounds like a lot, it is. And that's not even all you get from this. When you're farming the side dungeons, you're going to be unlocking the legendary powers. When you're doing the altars of Lilith, you're going to be gaining free passive stats as well as obol slots that are account wide. So it's not just for your character that you're doing now, it's going to help you out with every future character that you make. And being able to start a fresh level 1 character with, I don't know, 100 in every base stat plus 10 passive points is going to make your leveling experience so much better. On top of that, because you're going to have 9 potion slots as opposed to the original 4 that allow you to eat more mechanics, right? Throughout the story, whenever I hit a point where I kind of got a little stuck or it was becoming a little difficult, and I needed either gear or levels or a potion, I went ahead and I farmed some renown just because of the fact that it's pretty decent power spikes. 2 extra passive points is really big. On top of the fact that extra potions is really good, because when you take into consideration that a potion is going to be healing you for flat amount plus a amount of your life, it's pretty much giving you like 50% of your life for each potion slot that you unlock. Additionally, this helps you if you're struggling in boss fights or progressing. On top of that, you're going to need the legendary powers anyways to get your characters up and running. You're going to need the waypoints, and you're going to want the altars of Lilith for the free buffs. Coming in at number 3 is vendors. I'm going to run around real quick, give a TLDR description of each vendor and what they do. That way you kind of have it in your mind of what these vendors can do for you. So up first, we have the alchemist. All right, and up first we have the alchemist, like I was saying. And if she's not the most important, she's at least top 3 in my opinion. She's going to be giving you upgrades to your potion, as well as allowing you to access elixirs. In my opinion, elixirs are one of the strongest things in the game, just because of the fact, on top of giving you a buff from everything from damage to defenses, they all give you a 5% bonus EXP multiplier as well, in addition to the buff you get from the potion. You're going to be getting these resources from just exploring the world, as well as in the renown system. When you do side quests, you get caches that give you these resources. That's why I rank that so highly. Now, later in the game, you're going to unlock instances, and these are going to be the things that you use in multiplayer events. The reason why I phrase that is it can be anything from world bosses to party play, because these are going to be giving you a buff for each nearby player. So let's say like world boss, right? 15 people in the world boss. This is giving you 3,000 flat armor. That's going to definitely help you tank. And you just unlock more and more of these as you progress. As you see, you unlock more at 50 and then 55. I'm assuming there's even more once you get higher level, probably like 60, 70, and so on. But with these potions being the core of buffs and really being just so much power or survivability, or the fact that it gives you EXP, that's why I rank the alchemist so highly, is because she's just so good. All right, up next we have the occultist. His little icon looks like this, and I guess I'm showing you them in order of how I rank them. I wasn't planning on that, but I guess I'm doing that. So what he's going to do for you is he is going to give you the ability of extracting and imbuing legendary powers. So like my rare legs, if I want to go ahead and put a legendary power on them, he's going to be the one to do that. As well, if you have aspects, this is from breaking down legendaries. All you would go ahead and do is put in the item and it'll break down the legendary for you. You can store the aspect for later. I do that a lot of the times because they roll, like the value of it rolls, and this gives me the ability of saving aspects that have higher rolls for later when I get better gear, and throwing on those higher aspects on my better gear, because you can only really do this once. Once you do it, you cannot extract the power back out of it once it is imprinted. So you are going to be running through legendary powers decently quick. And that's main reason why you want to go ahead and do the side dungeons. Once again, why I ranked it higher, because you're going to be using these so much. Apart from that, in later game, you get the ability of crafting essentially maps. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's what this is. These are maps that you would go ahead and you would click them. It opens a side dungeon into a nightmare dungeon, and it's essentially a map. It has modifiers, you get better rewards, as well as it is what you get the the glyphs from, right? So that doesn't happen till much later, so I'm not really going to go over it in this intro video. But then apart from that, he is going to allow you to roll affixes on gear as well. And this is really good if you have an item that has two really good mods and you want to use it, but you need to re-roll the third. Same thing like Diablo 3, where you go ahead and you have a piece of gear, but you don't really like one of the modifiers. You just re-roll until you hit the modifier that you like. Up next, we essentially have the Blood Shard Merchant in D3, but it's called the Purveyor of Curiosities in D4. She's going to be the one using your obols to give you items. This is where you're going to kind of do that gamble Blood Shard RNG to try to pull out specific legendary powers slash and or upgrades. Let's say all of your gear is at a certain tier, but you've neglected your boots, your rings, your weapon, whatever. You're going to go ahead and use her to roll either better gear or roll for specific legendary powers. The only thing that I can say right now, do not waste obols on Whispering Keys. At this point, I do have a small sample size, but it's a sample size of like 20, and I have not pulled anything good out of a silent chest. It's just junk. This is a waste of obols, especially when you can get a piece of gear that has a chance of giving you a legendary power that you've been trying to farm for anyways. So short, sweet, Blood Shard vendor. All right, and it's really hard to say who I value more, these guys or the Blood Shard vendor, just because they do very different things. But I feel like farming for the legendary powers with the Blood Shard vendor is better. I guess Obol vendor. I'm sorry, it's not Blood Shards, even though it literally is. And then this is going to be the blacksmith as well as the armor vendor and the weapon merchant, right? The reason why these guys are so important is because you're going to have to do a mixture. Every time your inventory gets full, what I've been doing is doing one in one, right? I'll go ahead and I'll sell everything to the vendor, or I'll go here and I'll salvage everything. Why? Because gold is just as valuable, if not more valuable, as the materials are themselves. So that's why I kind of do a one in one, just because respecking, upgrading, re-rolling, everything takes gold, but it also takes resources, right? So that's why I said get in a good groove of kind of like a one in one. That way you have a good balance of resources and gold for when you need to start trying to upgrade your gear. But that kind of describes everything that they do, short and sweet. Once again, just like the obol vendor is, that he's going to salvage gear, he's going to buy and sell gear, he's going to buy and sell weapons. Sometimes these can be upgrades, so you do want to leave an eye out, because I haven't seen him sell legendaries, but a lot of times the base weapons or base items can be fairly decent, so I've actually picked up upgrades from the shops. Apart from that, the blacksmith is going to salvage gear and give you the resources that you need to upgrade your gear, as well as repair your gear. Same thing as D3. You die, your armor loses a certain amount of durability. And then the upgrade is essentially, I briefly went over it, but just that it's going to go ahead and upgrade the power of an item to not only literally give it more item power, but to increase the stats. As you can see here, when I go from tier 3 to tier 4 on these boots, it's going to give me the 2 lightning res, the 3 willpower, the 2 poison res, right? It's going to be giving me those benefits. You're going to want to upgrade things mainly to 3 stars. The resources that you use to upgrade something to 3 stars isn't that bad. And they're going to be really resources that you usually have an abundance of, but for the amount of power that you're getting for free, it's just too good not to do. And if you're doing a solid 1-to-1 like I just mentioned, you're not going to be running out of resources, especially if you're doing the other things I mentioned at higher priority, like the renown farming and stuff like that. And coming in last is going to be the jeweler and the dude that sells you rings and amulets. The reason why these two come in last place to me is because it's more of an end game thing for me. It's not really like all the other vendors I showed you first. Those are vendors that you're going to be proactively going back to. You're going to be using them a lot. These, not as much because it's more end game power, more niche, right? The jeweler is going to go ahead and give you the ability of just like the blacksmith of upgrading your jewelry, but on top of that, adding sockets to items and unsocketing gems. So once again, it's not really something that you're going to be doing while you're super early in leveling, just because there's better ways that you can use your gold. It is kind of expensive to add sockets and upgrade the jewelry in comparison to the amount of power you're going to be getting from upgrading your gear. So your base gear, your armor. So that's why I kind of just rank it at the last. But once you enter more of that end game, you do visit her more, because once you craft gear, then you're going to go ahead. This is a bad example. This is a unique. Once you craft gear, you're going to go ahead and usually come to her to add a socket onto your gear, or sockets plural, because the gems are also going to be a really good, decent power spikes once you hit that later game. All right. And last up, not in order of importance, but in order of availability, is going to be the Tree of Whispers, which unlocks once you complete the campaign. And this is essentially world bounties. It's going to set up milestones throughout the world. And every 10 Grim Favor, you go back to the tree, and it is going to give you a reward cache. These caches can be incredibly strong, because not only do they give you a lot of gold and resources, they usually give you a legendary or two, and they're usually well rolled legendaries. On top of that, you can get special caches that give you specifically high rolled legendaries. Next up is Helltide. Helltide is something that doesn't become unlockable until World Tier 3, and it's rotating every other hour, and it lasts for an hour. Essentially, this is where you're going to get your gear to actually do World Tier 3 stuff. When I ran my first Helltide, when I got into Tier 3, my weapon was a 600 damage increase over my previous weapon. The sacred rares and amount of sacred items that you're going to get from Helltides is just insanely high, and they are some of the better items in the game. I don't want to say best, because that's in World Tier 4. It unlocks a new tier of item and everything, but this is going to be pretty much the peak of your power for a decent while. So you're going to want to at least catch every 30-minute interval of a Helltide, because there's going to be a special chest that spawns like this, except for it doesn't appear. You have to look for it, or see it on a stream, or be in a party and find it however you want. But it's going to cost 175 of the resource, and it's going to drop 4 to 5 guaranteed sacred items. It's just such a huge quality of life and upgrade that you have to really try to find it while you can. The reason why I say 30-minute intervals is because it moves at the 30-minute mark. So if you find one, or someone tells you where one is, and there's only like 10 seconds to get to it, just wait and start looking for the next one, because you're not going to be able to make it to it before it moves. All right, and that pretty much rounds out the video. In the background, I'll be showing some Helltide footage, showing that chest I was mentioning that drops a bunch of sacred items. But I just wanted to round this video out by saying thank you for watching. I hope these tips and tricks help you out with the official opening of the game being tomorrow, June 5th at 4 p.m. I figured I'd throw this video up to give you guys kind of like a head start advantage of a couple of things you might want to keep in mind or look out for prior to starting, in case these are some things that you didn't know about. But that's pretty much it. Apart from that, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date. Oh, one more thing. I did message Twitch to make sure that I got drops turned on. So the next 4 weeks, there's events for drops on Twitch. So I'm going to be streaming regularly, at least 3 to 6 hours. Mm, Probably every day. That way, you guys have the best chance of actually getting drops. But yeah, twitch.tv/Joker_Khrono. Check me out there. I'm happy to answer questions of stuff that I've experienced or found out in the game so far to help you out. I can even boost your first capstone if you need it at this point, since I am geared enough to do that. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to go so hard, is to kind of guarantee I could boost people to World Tier 3 once they are at that point with their capstone dungeon. But like I said, that's pretty much it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date with this and future content. And until next time, take care.